Hi everyone, welcome you back to your training session. And now is the time to discuss the seventh chapter of the course. And this chapter is about drone equipment and maintenance. In this chapter, we will look into the details of how a maintenance task can be done on your drone and what are the important steps involved in it. Every steps will be discussed in detail. This chapter will provide you a roadmap which you can follow anytime when you want to execute the maintenance task on any type of drone. Chapter will also give you an understanding of what are those important points that must be taken care while performing the maintenance. So let us delve into this chapter. Why the maintenance is required. Like any equipment or machine, drones also requires proper maintenance to ensure that they function correctly and safely. If there is any drone which is not properly maintained and the user is not bothered about if there is any damage to the propellers or maybe any important equipment, then maybe that user will get into the trouble for sure in the future with his drone because such drones are more prone towards crashes, accidents. They can become a threat to the people and to the properties. So this is why for this not only the safety of drone but for the safety of people around you, this proper maintenance of the drone is always required. Maintenance not only allow the drone to perform better for a longer lifespan, but it also improves its performance as well. So this is very important to note here. If the camera is functioning well on the drone, which is a payload, if the flight controller is well connected with the important components of the drone, then your drone will flight will be very smooth and it will be very efficient, as well as it will your drone will be consuming a very optimized power from the battery. In many countries now it is a legal requirement that every drone should go through proper maintenance, a scheduled maintenance. So these are the important things that makes us understand why the drone maintenance is important. Let us discuss about the types of maintenance. There are two types of maintenance which are possible for the drone. One is the preventive maintenance and second is the breakdown maintenance. What is preventive maintenance? Preventive maintenance is a maintenance activity which is done on a regularly basis. We can say a kind of scheduled maintenance. And this helps the drone to eliminate any future failures during the flight. And you can take this preventive maintenance, understand this preventive maintenance in this way also, that you are actually fixing the things, means equipments and parts of drones before they actually break down in the future. And the second type of maintenance is the breakdown maintenance. Breakdown, as the name in itself is very clear, that when your drone is no longer functioning and then you are trying to execute the maintenance task, then it is a breakdown maintenance. And in breakdown maintenance, you use all the required corrective measures so that the equipments which is no more working becomes functional, either by repairing it or maybe by replacing it with a new component. Many times there could be the maintenance could be an emergency in case of any uncertainty or an accident of your drone. So breakdown maintenance is not a regular or a scheduled kind of maintenance. Guidelines for drone maintenance. This is a very good roadmap on your screen that gives us the idea of how a person who wants to do the maintenance task should proceed with his drone. First of all, this is very important to note here that start with a clean workspace. And this is really important. When you are beginning up with the maintenance task, it is important that your work table is free from any clutter. It does not have any unnecessary things lying on the table roof. And the reason being, first of all, it actually enhances your focus on your drone while performing the maintenance. Second is, it will enable you to take a very less time when you are trying to do the maintenance. Also, there is the possibility of losing any important part of your drone becomes negligible when you have a very clear workplace. And only important thing there, which is going to participate in the maintenance task. So this was the importance of the clean workspace. Now the second step is inspect the drone. Now inspection task should be executed. Here inspect the drone involves many steps, which we will discuss in the next slide. Basically in inspection, you notice for any possible damage or cracks. Now the second step is inspect the drone. This step involves your observation on drone for any possible damage, wear or tear to the structural airframe and the other components as well. We shall look into this in the next slide in detail. When the third step is clean the drone. Now you should be cleaning your drone before executing any maintenance task, but after inspection. Then check the batteries. This is the fourth step. The fifth one is inspect the propellers, and this step is followed by check for firmware updates, then checking the calibration of the drones, and then understanding of the storage of a drone, because there are some important points that must be kept in mind when you are going to store your drone for a longer period of time. There's a battery which should not be left over fully charged for a long time. And last but not least, get regular maintenance. Okay, so let us begin with the inspection of the drone as a part of your maintenance step. In maintenance inspection, you will be checking the drone for any signs of damage or wear and tear. You will look closely at the important equipments like camera, landing gears. There is a propeller. You can visually try to identify if there is any cracks or a dent which is visible. So it can be replaced. The component can be changed. And the checking of remote controller and the drone software or a firmware should also be inspected. So next, this step will be followed by cleaning your drone. Cleaning your drone is an important part of maintaining it. Here are the steps to clean a drone. Choose the right cleaning tools. You should be using a soft bristled brushes or a microfiber clones or a compressed air to clean your drone. You should avoid using any toxic, any chemical, not just toxic, any chemical or a liquid. Should avoid using such things to clean your drone, because this can damage your drone hardware permanent. If there is any debris around, you must remove that from your workplace, because debris are these are very dangerous items, very dangerous. If this debris is left over in a frame, it may interact with the other components inside and may damage the functionality of the other. Okay. Even the dust and dirt are also counted as debris. So these things should be properly removed. Then clearing the camera lens. This will enable your camera sensor to work nicely, and it will be able to capture the very clear images and videos. Then wiping the drone. Wipe the drone with again a microfiber cloth throughout. Use compressed air. Compressed air will help the dust particles to get away from your drone. And the last step in cleaning is checking the drone for a moisture. Moisture is like a kind of presence of water in any of the component, maybe in the form of vapor or like that. So if you find that there is any component which is wet, and then it should be first left outside so that it can completely get dry, and then only you should start with the next step of maintenance. Then comes checking the batteries. So the steps under checking the batteries, you must first fully charge the battery. Now, why this is important? Because when you are charging the battery completely, then it will give you an information whether it is able to get charged to a desired voltage or not. If the battery after getting fully charged is not able to reach its mentioned or a specified voltage, then that means that it is the time to replace the battery. And fully charging the battery and then testing your drone will also let you know how much time it's taking for that battery to make its charge over. You can use a battery checker or a voltage meter to measure the voltage of the battery. This shall give you the voltage associated with each cell as well. The third important point to be kept in the mind while checking the battery is you must look for any damage or swelling, and if it is present in the battery, then that battery should be safely disposed and it should not be used. Then cleaning the battery contacts, again a very important point, because battery is the source of power to your drone as well as to the payloads, to all the components which are a part of your drone. And if these connections, the contacts with the battery is not proper, and then it will obviously, maybe during the flight, the current supply to your drone stops, and then you will not get any chance to save your drone and also any damage to the people or property. So if there is any presence of corrosion in the battery contacts, then it should be corrected. The components must be changed, the wires should be changed, the connectors should be cleaned. Then the next step is ground control systems, which contains a display it gives you the information regarding what is the battery voltage and the many other parameters which are associated with the battery. The storage feature is it must be taken care that a battery should be stored in a temperature that ranges from 4 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius, and also stored with the storage charge of 3.8 volt per cell. Avoid any deep discharges, and should be kept in mind that the battery should not be discharged during its usage below 3.2 volt per cell, because this will actually permanently damage your battery and you won't be able to get it back when trying to charge it. And now the next step is inspect the propellers. The steps which involves the inspection of propellers: first, a propellers must be removed from the airframe of the drone, and then check for any wear, tear, cracks, chips or dents. You can see in the image showing how the propeller is damaged and it needs to be replaced. There is another thing to be kept in mind, that is a balancing of the propellers. Propeller can be hanged in the horizontal plane, and it can be seeing that there must be a balance in both of the blades of the propeller, and if the propeller is not hanging in a balanced way, then that balancing should be done. Then cleaning the propellers, so that again if there is any hairline cracks or anything else like this are present, then it becomes visible, and then reinstalling the propellers onto your drone. The next step is checking the firmware updates. Steps to check the firmware updates are as follows. Check the manufacturer's website for any update, because most of the manufacturers provides updated versions of the firmware on their website, as it becomes very easy to download for the users which are maybe in any remote location, or they are not accessible to the place where the manufacturer has its plant. So anywhere on the globe it can be easily downloaded. So a website should be checked first, and many drones comes with the mobile application. So in that case, a mobile application should be updated. There could be a situation where you need to connect your drone to your computer for installing the firmware updates, and in that case your laptop or a computer will help you whichever the instructions are there while accessing your download file through your computer, those instructions to be followed carefully, and then your drone's firmware or a software can easily be updated. Calibration of your drone. For calibration purpose, a manufacturer's instructions can be referred. Drones have many sensors installed on it, and those sensors needs calibration. So every sensor should be calibrated. It should be taken care that drones, accelerometer, drones compass, and as well as the radio controllers. These all things should be calibrated, and that after calibration, you may move forward to perform a test flight to see if the things are working properly or not. There are some additional tips which will help you while maintaining the drone. First important tip is always try to keep your drone hardware clean and free from dust, debris, or dirt. Avoid landing in dusty patches of the dirt. While you're flying your drone, you must avoid landing your drone in a ground which is full of dust and dirt. Always takes care of the camera's lenses and the sensors, because this will ensure the performance of your drone. Okay? So now comes flight control box. What is flight control box? Flight control box is an important component of your drone, and it is also it is actually known as the brain of your drone. So here we are discussing this separately because this particular component needs special attention while performing the maintenance task. It is your flight controller which ensures the stability of your drone, which receives the commands from the pilot, and the sensors on the which is present in your flight controller senses the drone's position, orientation, and then they proceed. Flight control box. You understand very well that it is basically a flight controller which we want to discuss here. And why is it important to be discussed is because while maintaining your drone, this is a component which needs special attention. It is actually a brain of your drone, and this is the one which ensures the stability of your drone. It has so many sensors with it, and those sensors measures the drone's position, orientation. It is the flight control which give commands to the payloads and operate it whenever a pilot wants to use the payload during the flight. So it becomes very important that this flight control box should be well maintained during a maintenance. Flight control unit has a autopilot, navigation and stabilization systems in itself. The sensors are accelerometers, compass, gyroscope, magnetometers, which are the part of your flight control board unit. And it, as I was telling, it manages the payload. It controls the payload operations. And not only this, the communication between a ground control station and your drone. So this communication is also maintained by this flight control box, and many safety features are there which are installed in the form of emergency landing modes and return to launch fail-safe features, which helps your drone to get retrieved back safely in the event of emergency or an accident. So how you maintain the flight control box is again taking care of that the new freeware, the new firmware or a software, which you can say, is installed on the flight control unit, and the manufacturer's website should be checked, and if there is any new update, it should be installed. You can update your mobile application if you could control your drone with that. So these are the steps that needs to be taken care. And the ground control station also uses a combination of hardware and softwares, and the softwares and hardware should be looked after during the maintenance. And if there is any update required in the ground control station software should be updated. So these are the important things that must be taken care. Okay. How do you actually maintain a ground control station? Here are some important steps that will guide you during the maintenance. Inspecting the antenna and RF equipment to ensure that they are functioning correctly, and checking and maintaining the power supply systems, including the batteries and generators. There should be a regular cleaning and lubrication to prevent the damage and to extend the life of the equipments which are the part of ground control station. Software and hardware systems should be updated and maintained. This is already covered. Then carrying out regular tests and simulations to validate the functionality of the ground control station is another important step in maintenance. Okay, now let us discuss about how one can execute the maintenance of payloads. There are some important points to be kept in the mind. You must understand that while trying to maintain your payload, first of all, again, the cleaning is required. Then your payload may use a battery for its operation. So that battery should be replaced, or it should be checked for any visible damage like swelling. Maybe it's not reaching the desired voltage after getting fully charged. It should be replaced. And there may be a firmware that needs to be updated. So that should be taken care. Payloads should be stored again carefully, and there's a storage temperature and should not be kept in a place where the humidity is very high, because humidity is again the presence of moisture in the air, so it can damage the connections and functionality of your payload parts. Okay, and then testing and calibration of payload should also be done, same as you do it for your drone. There could be some common issues like connectivity problems, so that should be eliminated. This is how maintenance of the payload is executed. So we have learned about the maintenance types of maintenance in the very beginning, that there is a preventive maintenance and a breakdown maintenance. There is a term similar to that, is a scheduled servicing. And let me tell you that this scheduled servicing is nothing but a preventive maintenance procedure. And it helps to keep your drone in a good working condition and prevent or you can say eliminate the possibility of any future failures of equipments in the coming flights. It should be done in a frequency, and every drone is different, so the scheduled servicing should be done as per manufacturer's recommendation. Okay, manufacturers provides the manufacturer manual, and it should be well read and followed if you want to have a long life of your drone. During maintenance, there may be a requirement to repair the equipments, and if this is the case, then you must first identify what is the issue with your equipment. Okay, and once it is clear, that you can gather all the tools and parts before beginning the repairing process. Okay, you must ensure that every tool or any component which is required to be replaced during this repairing you must first have it with you, and this you should identify in the previous step. Okay, and many common issues of the drones are documented in the manufacturer's guide. It should be referred every time. After the repairing is done, you can go on with the test flight with your drone and ensure that there is no error codes. So this is how repairing of any equipment is done. Fault finding and rectification. This could be a very complex process, because when you observe that there is some issue with the functionality of the drone and during the maintenance, and then it becomes really sometimes very irritating and challenging to identify what is the issue. So, but nothing is that difficult if you know the right steps to follow. So you must first go on with the identification of the symptoms. What is the unusual behavior your drone is showing? You can check into the manual. If it is any common issue, the solution would be there. And you can check the connections, because many times just the connections that may get loose can trouble you, and you are just simply thinking, what is the issue? Why these couplets are not working? And sometimes the problem is very, very simple and it is just the connection issue with the cable. So ensure that all the connections proper and it is not damaged. Then again, checking for firmware updates. I was studying because many times the new firmware comes up into the market, and then a newer version, updation to that newer version becomes important. Otherwise, your hardware may not work properly, because with time those guys who are doing research in firmware, this firmware software development, they're always improving their softwares. They are with time learning the bugs which are present in their hardwares, and with every new version they always try to eliminate those errors and bugs. So a newer version is always a must to you firmware. Then you can conduct a visual inspection to look for any signs of physical damage to your drone components. And if in case you are not able to find out what is the issue, then you can isolate the issue to a very specific component, and you can try taking that component out and checking it separately and see if where is the problem. Or at last, you can visit the manufacturer's place for further assistance. With this, I would like to thank you for staying connected, and very soon we will continue the next chapter of the course. Thank you.